Hi, today I'm going to present my high school learning experience and the ways of knowing that's associated with it. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Saif. I am 18 years old. I'm from Thailand, and in the past I've lived in Spain for 3 years, but for the rest of the time I've been living in Thailand. I want to talk about two of my examples. One from an academic subject, biology, and the other one from an extracurricular activity, touch rugby. Okay, so I would like to talk about my photosynthesis lab that I did in biology last year as part of my IB internal assessment. This lab report investigates the effect of colored light on photosynthesis rate, and I chose this example to talk about because I spent a lot of this time working on this lab, and my partner and I were trying to get the data to come out as perfect as possible. We were really determined to get a good data, but the results didn't come out as we expected at all. And we couldn't find any correlation between the graphs, and we had to discard the data, and therefore we had to discard our hypothesis. So I was really frustrated and disappointed after spending a lot of time working on it. And the ways of knowing that I'm going to talk about is reason. In this lab report, I followed a strict outline of the scientific method, which is a type of inductive reasoning. In my lab report, I used 3 out of the 5 steps of inductivism: observation, hypothesis, and experiment. The other 2 are law and theory, which our data couldn't really make us go that far yet. And then I think that confirmation bias also existed in the sense that that I immediately rejected the data after I didn't find any correlation between the results. So instead of trying to find out some other possible causes for why I got the results I got, I just rejected the data. And moving on to my next example, touch rugby. I've been playing touch rugby since freshman year, and it's a sport that I really enjoy playing. It's a good way to exercise, to socialize with friends, to spend time after a long day of school. And I think it's really productive to be playing in a team because it teaches me a lot of things, especially about teamwork and cooperation. And of course, just like every other athlete, you are driven by passion and therefore emotion. And I think a sport is a perfect example of how of the positive and negative effect of emotion on learning experiences. It's good in that it teaches you things when you're on the field, like teamwork and cooperation. Like there's no I in a team, right? So you have to rely on other people, and that's the lesson I probably learned the most from touch. But it can also be an impediment to learning because, especially when you're having a tunnel vision, like for example, when I'm just playing a game, when I'm in a game, I would be just focusing on trying to get the ball to the try line instead of stepping back and look at if there's an open space on the wing. And I think that's important also because it makes you look at the big picture and trying to understand what you're trying to do. Yeah. And in reflecting how my examples, I think these two learning experiences teaches me most about, points out to me most about my weaknesses, and I think that's a good thing, and that's a good thing because it makes me learn from my mistakes. Like in biology, I learned from that I'm not a spontaneous person at all. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I don't like things to go as I plan, and I don't react well to failures. But when my results from the IB biology lab report didn't go as planned, I failed, right? And then I realized that it's okay to fail even after you try really hard. And I think this definitely made me realize that failing is okay, and it's an acceptable and it can be honorable thing to do. So it's definitely a big lesson that I will have to keep in mind in the future. As for touch rugby, what I know about myself the most from touch is that I rely on myself a lot. Like I'm a very independent person. I like to do things by myself. I guess because I have this kind of high standards for myself. So, but then from touch rugby, I would have to cooperate and work in teams to succeed. And that's also a big lesson that I learned. And I think it will be a crucial thing to possess when in the future, even whether it would be in your personal lives or in the working place. And to conclude, I think that these two examples are perfect to represent who I am, because it reflects not only my weaknesses that I have to improve on, but also the lesson that I learned from going through these learning experiences.